Okay, we'll try that again. My phone rang and I was using my phone to make the video, and then I had to stop the video. So let's try number 2 again. Number 2 on page 6 says that I have 2 cosine of 3t minus 1 equals 0. And you don't like that 3t thing, so I'm going to let 3t equal theta. So I have 2 cosine of theta minus 1 equals 0. And I'm supposed to solve for cosine. So I'm going to add my 1 and divide by 2, and cosine is now going to equal 1/2. So where does cosine equal 1/2? Well, cosine's negative in quadrant 2 and negative in quadrant 3, so we're looking for this pi over 3 angle and this 5 pi over 3 angle. And this is really why you have to know your unit circle inside and out. So I now know that theta equals pi over 3, and I also know that theta equals 5 pi over 3. The great thing about this problem is it says that the restriction on the problem is from 0 to 2 pi. So I don't have to worry about this plus or minus pi n or 2 pi n thing, because I'm only allowed to go around the circle once according to the restriction. However, we're not done, because this theta wasn't in the problem. I had a 3t. So instead of having theta here, I'm going to say 3t equals pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. And now you just use your algebra skills and solve for t. Divide by 3, divide both answers by 3, and you're going to get simply that t equals pi over 9, comma, 5 pi over 9. And there's your 2 answers. Wasn't so bad. Okay, next problem. Here we go. We got this. We're on a roll now. So number 3 says we're going to solve. Oh, there is no number 3. I lied. Number 4 says we're going to solve cotangent of x times cosine squared x equals 2 cotangent x. Okay, in case you haven't realized, the name of the game here is going to be factoring. And to factor, we like it to equal 0 on one side. So let's pull this 2 cotangent over. So now I have cotangent x times cosine squared x minus 2 cotangent x equals 0. And I know part of you wanted to divide this over. In general, you don't want to divide a trig function over, because yes, these cotangents would have canceled out and your life would have been much better, but in the process of canceling out, you would have deleted some of your answers, and that would have been pretty sad. So now we look here and say, okay, these both have a cotangent, so I can pull out a cotangent, and I'm left with cosine squared x minus 2 equals 0. So now you have 2 things multiplied, so cotangent x has to equal 0, and cosine squared x minus 2 has to equal 0. In other words, cosine squared x has to equal 2, or cosine of x equals plus or minus the square root of 2. Okay, so let's start here because you're better friends with cosine. Cosine of x equals plus or minus the square root of 2. Well, the square root of 2, I promise you, is bigger than 1, and you should know that cosine only goes from -1 to 1, so this is not possible or undefined. Because cosine is never bigger than 1 and never smaller than -1, and the square root of 2 is 1 point something-ish bigger than 1. So where does cotangent of x equal 0? Well, if you think about cotangent for a second, it's the same thing as, oops, not sine. It's the same thing as cosine over sine, which is like saying that x stuff over the y stuff equals 0. So for x over y to equal 0, the y cannot be 0 because that would get us an undefined answer. So for us to get this fraction, x over y, to equal 0, x has to equal 0. So really what we're asking you is where x, or where cosine equals 0. Well, cosine in the unit circle equals 0 up here at pi over 2 and down here at 3 pi over 2. And again, we had a restriction, so those are my only answers. X equals pi over 2, comma, 3 pi over 2. Okay, so there's 2 problems left, 5 and 6. I want you to try them on your own, and then once you've tried both problems, go back to Edmodo and see if you got the right answers.